Good morning, my name is Byron Drew from Metro Weather, and this is this morning's weather brief on Friday, the 11th of January. Today's brief will include a summarized look at your medium-term forecast, followed by a more detailed temperature forecast across the UK and Europe. After that, we'll look at renewables, followed by Scandinavian precipitation, and finally, global weather alerts. And we'll start with a look at your 32-day forecast from ECMWF, where, for the last part of January and the first week of February, temperatures are expected to trend below climate normal by up to 2 or 3 degrees in the UK and as much as 3 or 4 degrees below normal in Germany and many parts of Central Europe in a generally easterly air mass, with high pressure dominant north of Europe and low pressure dominant over most southern and particularly southwestern parts of Europe towards the end of January, with the low pressure declining somewhat further south and west into the start of February. Now for a more detailed look at your temperature forecast across the UK and Europe over the next 15 days, starting between days 11 and 15, during which time temperatures are expected to trend below climate normal across the majority of the UK and Europe, with temperatures generally 2 or 3 degrees below normal for this time of year in the UK, France and Germany, while in Spain temperatures will trend fairly near to climate normal, and in far eastern parts of Europe, including Austria, temperatures will trend up to 4 or 5 degrees below normal. In the UK, between days 11 and 15, and indeed for the majority of the forecast period, the GFS ensemble forecast signals a somewhat milder evolution than that signaled by the ECMWF ensemble forecast. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen increased model agreement, with both the EC and GFS ensemble model displaying temperatures roughly 2 or 3 degrees below normal in the UK between days 11 and 15. This recently increased agreement is also well illustrated by the model comparison graph for Germany, with signal for a gradual moderating trend throughout the period, as temperatures generally range between 2 and 4 degrees below normal, while improved agreement in France has resulted in forecast temperatures somewhat nearer to climate normal than previously expected, now averaging around 2 degrees below climate normal, while previous GFS deterministic runs are considerably warmer outliers. Between days 6 and 10, temperatures will trend up to 3 or 4 degrees below climate normal through most far northern parts of Europe, including the UK and Germany, while in Austria, temperatures could trend up to 6 or 7 degrees below climate average, while nearer normal temperatures are likely in Spain. Between days 6 and 10, there is somewhat increased model divergence, with the GFS ensemble model displaying a somewhat erratic signal for a considerable moderating trend through the 17th and 18th of January in the UK, while the ECMWF ensemble model has generally signaled a somewhat cooler evolution. Looking at the individual EC ensemble members, it is clear how strongly in favor of the cooler evolution the ECMWF ensemble model is around the 17th or 18th of December, with only around 25% of the ensemble members displaying signal for the warmer evolution. And while the GFS ensemble model also generally favors a cooler evolution around the 17th or 18th of December, the amount of individual ensemble members that signal the warmer evolution is higher, and thus so is the probability of the event, backed up to 35 or 40%. And thus, while the signal for a period of rapid moderation around the 17th of January remains a secondary or emerging signal, there is still a considerable amount of model support in both the EC and GFS models. And finally, between days 2 and 5, temperatures will trend below normal to well below normal across most parts of Western Europe and the UK. And now for your renewables forecast, starting with German wind, where over the next 3 or 4 days, generally decreasing amount of potential wind power generation capacity is likely as wind speeds ease into the weekend and the beginning of next week, during which time the probability of near calm conditions is between 20 and 40%, peaking at around 60% on Saturday afternoon. Wind speeds are also expected to remain fairly low in western parts of Scotland, with up to a 40 or 50% probability of near calm conditions both Sunday and Monday, dropping somewhat to around 20% for the first half of next week. And on to Scandinavian precipitation, where, over the next 7 days, below average to well below average precipitation totals are likely across most parts. However, coastal Norway will continue to see precipitation totals near to and even locally above normal. And now for your global weather alerts, starting with the US temperature anomaly forecast over the next 7 days, where temperatures in eastern parts of the country are likely to trend above normal to well above normal, while temperatures below normal to well below normal are likely in the west. And in Brazil, although far southern parts of the country will see precipitation totals below normal to well below normal, many central and eastern areas will see above average rainfall for this time of year over the next week. And moving on to East Asia, although temperatures in many eastern parts of China will trend above normal for this time of year, far northeastern parts of the country, as well as South Korea and Japan, will trend below normal to well below normal for this time of year over the next 7 days. And off the west coast of Australia, tropical cyclone Narelle is expected to continue heading south or southwestwards over the coming days, weakening during the first part of next week and potentially passing Perth on Tuesday. Meanwhile, most parts of Australia, and central areas in particular, are likely to continue seeing temperatures trending above normal to well above normal for this time of year. And that's all for today's weather brief. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.